movies, to see any kind of person face, different skin color, different proportions in their everyday life. So now it's a little trickier to say what the
globalization of beauty,
exactly.
Right?
You don't have the cliches now of you were talking about the model. We can say like Lu Yan is the typical example.
Exactly, because sometimes the faces or the girls who are seen as the beautiful ones in one culture might not be seen as beautiful in a different culture.
Yeah.
Lu Yan is one example, and many Chinese would say, well, she might be very successful on the catwalk, but she's not the most beautiful model that we have.
But I think that's true of the fashion world in general, though, because most high fashion models look a little strange. They're very, very thin, very, very tall. They've got quite extreme features. They're not kind of, like your pin-up beauty, something that boys would necessarily like.
Exactly.
They're made to make clothes look good. So.
Which is why when you had girls who had the body for the so-called for the being a model according to their times, of course, and the so-called perfect face became huge stars like Claudia Schiffer, Cindy Crawford in the mid-90s.
Christy Turlington is meant to have a beautifully symmetrical face as well.
Exactly.
But, I mean, even those girls, those 80s, the first batch of supermodels are a lot more athletic and are very different shape compared to the girls you see on the runways now, who are 14 years old and very, very thin.
Yeah.
So skinny.
Yeah, I mean, these models are all skinny, and some even died for being too skinny.
That's right.
I'm telling you, we have a lot of African viewers on this show. This is not the type of beauty that my African male friends like. They like a little meat and bones.
They like Beyonce, do they?
You're talking about Beyonce. I mean, my African male friends, for them, Beyonce is the skinny type of the right proportions, but skinny type.
Okay. And just now we've been talking about the different standards in different countries or different cultures, and when we come back after another short break, we'll talk about the changes that have happened in the past maybe decades in China. A short break. And welcome back to Crossover. And now the changes, especially after 1949 when the People's Republic of China was founded. These are the criteria of being beauty at the time. Just take a listen. They're not bound to family life. That means they have their own jobs, they have their own career. They work and work only. No time for cosmetics. That is being encouraged. And they have the whole life dedicated to their career and to their work. And they're willing to be married to soldiers, workers, or farmers instead of thinking too much about the personality differences or compatibility.
Can I just say how completely polar opposite that is to the 1950s in, say, the US at the same time? I mean, that was the Mad Men era of ultra femininity. Women were housewives, they raised children, they dressed beautifully, they smoked cigarettes and drank martinis while their kids ran around the house. They always had their hair perfectly done, face full of makeup, husbands would never see them without makeup on. It just strikes me as, on the other side of the world,
it seems that
Chinese
two ends of one step
are in a lot of ways incredibly progressive because, it took American women a long time to get to that level of independence and being able to make those decisions.
Since let's say 1949 it has been pretty high in China. Basically on the basis of it, it's pretty equal. There are things that even still in France, I mean, this is off topic, but even salaries is sometimes really different from between men and women in France for the same job, which I don't really see in China.
It's the same in Australia. I mean, there's still that glass ceiling, and that's why a lot of women decide to leave, because it's not worth kind of fighting when you're always going to be 20 or 30% less paid than your male counterparts for often doing the same job.
And actually women are seen as the half the sky, as you may have heard.
Women hold up half the sky.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
And we have actually some pictures to show how women looked like at the time. These people are seen as the beautiful ones.
But these are the older. It's a little slightly different because there was a very strong. It was the old days of communism, the really beginning of everything. So people were driven by a huge ideology here, which were also. It was all in one. That was also aimed at having a kind of healthy mentality to move forward for the country and for to build